All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. I am super, super excited to have Paul Hammond here. He is the owner of AM9. He's also the designer, the creator, the founder of the Canine Biathlon. I'm so excited to have Paul here today. We actually had a conversation a couple months ago where I was asking him some questions and kind of picking his brain about the biathlon and canine fitness, and we had such an amazing, at least for me, it was such an informative, amazing conversation. I thought I have to get this down, either invite an audience, get it recorded, so that I can spread the word and really share with people some of the stuff that I learned. So Paul, thank you so much for joining us today. I really, really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to squeeze us in.
Hey, no problems whatsoever. I just hope you all can, or y'all can understand my English accent.
I'm sure we won't have any problem. Before we get started, I was wondering if you could maybe just introduce a little bit. I mentioned the AM9. Maybe tell us a little bit about your background of how you got involved in dogs and started your company. I think people would be really interested in hearing that.
Yeah, I've been in working dogs for 27 years, so I know I don't look that old, but I am. What was interesting about my career in the 27 years, about 20 of those years have been operational in harm's way. I spent 15 years with the British Army Dog Unit in Northern Ireland, battling terrorism there on a domestic level. And then in 2005, I spent 7 years in Iraq and Afghanistan, continuously supporting and working as a program manager for Canine for the Department of Defense and the US Department of State, as well as the private sector, oil and gas, and so on over there. So I finished there in 2012. Things were getting a little bit dangerous. My luck was running out after 20 years in crazy places, and I decided to sort of come stateside and form a company. That company was originally called iCanine, and where I was one of the founding members with my business partner, who was American. Not a canine guy, but a business guy. And that transitioned over to merging with a very large company called AM9 under a partnership, and then becoming sole source to AM9. We changed all the branding. And we service the private sector. We service military, we service police, all sectors of the working dog industry. We train them, we educate them, we supply them canines as well as canine team services all over the world. Okay, so it's quite important that the working dog background that I have, it's all work, 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 and there was never enough play when it comes to our canine friends. So that's where the US Canine Biathlon comes in. It kind of takes us out of the workspace and lets us enjoy and find out something about our dogs for sure.
Great. Now, tell us a little bit about the Canine Biathlon. I know it was only recently that I had learned about it happening in the United States. I had some friends and some students of mine participate. We have some here today. And tell us a little bit about, for those who don't know, what is it, and kind of what got you started it, and give us a little bit of background for those who aren't familiar with it.
Well, the US Canine Biathlon is a fun, challenging endurance event. Okay, it's a pure endurance event, and it can test you. In particular, it tests the bond between you and your dog. Okay, that's the whole concept of the US Canine Biathlon. Okay, it is a team event between you and your canine, whether it's your personal pet or your working dog. Okay, it's your partner, and it's designed to challenge you both, to find out that bonding experience, to improve that bonding experience between you and your dog, and whether you're from an athletic side of life or whether you are, just want to get out and challenge yourself, the US Canine Biathlon can provide something for you, and so that's the concept behind it in the US. The originality of it was something that I competed in when I was in the British military. Actually, I had a bit of success in it as a young British military soldier, and with my dog, my big, beautiful German Shepherd called Zamo at the time. We entered the event for the first time in 1992, and we won it. We had success. We won the UK biathlon, military biathlon. Same sort of thing, probably not as many obstacles, more shooting events and stuff like that, but it certainly was challenging for me and my working dog. We came back on the 1993 to win it again, and then I decided to take a bit of a break. Northern Ireland was a pretty crazy place when it comes to work, so I actually had a 10-year break, believe it or not. I think I came back in 2002, 2003 and 4, and won it 3 times again. So, I mean, I've had some great success with it. I couldn't replicate that now. I'm not going to come out of retirement and do it a 3rd time, another 10 years on. But I had some success. But the main thing I got out of competing in those and seeing all those military call signs and teams coming together was I thought I knew my working dog, and I thought my working dog knew me, but we didn't. Not until we took on obstacles together, challenges together, we pushed ourselves endurance-wise to the limit. That's when I really started to find out about my dog and how we helped each other. There were certain obstacles that I would help him on, and certain obstacles he would help me on, and certain obstacles he would surprise me on, and I'm sure I surprised him on a few obstacles as well. So, I mean, I'd never experienced a bonding experience like it, and in fact, the motivation behind the pre-build-up to an event was everything to me. It got me off my backside and got me out training and doing things that I couldn't really be bothered to do, but I wanted to do it for my canine, and I thought I had better improve his endurance as well. So before we knew it, we're both out preparing for these things. And so I see that transition from what I did with the military, and I saw, in my opinion, what was missing here. I don't think there's any events out there that really brings the working dog community together, or the canine community domestically together. I think the military and police dogs stay to themselves. I think the search and rescue dogs stay in their own area, and the civilians and their pets and their show world and all the rest of it stay in their areas. There's no event that actually brings the various disciplines of dogs and working dogs together. And I experienced that to some end in the military. I thought it would be a great idea to bring it here to the United States. And of course, we're now 3 years in and having some fantastic success. So that's the kind of fundamental roots of the biathlon.
Yeah, it was interesting when I first spoke with you on the phone about this. I wasn't expecting your response so much on talking about the bond, and I find that fascinating. In my own background, I have search and rescue background. I have stuff on the civilian side, and I know sometimes when I reach out and I'm wanting to do training in certain areas and detection, there's definitely some areas closed, to civilians, and I think that's very true. That kind of separation. You got the police and the military and the civilian side, so I think that is definitely very unique. I know people, I have people who had been asking questions and were really interested about the obstacles. Wanting to know, especially people who aren't familiar with the canine biathlon, who haven't done it, I know they're really interested in, what are these obstacles? And people who are interested in doing it, do they know ahead of time what these obstacles are?
No, there's a certain amount of mystique, and I keep it that way because I think part of the challenge is a mental challenge. Our working dogs and our civilian dogs are a lot smarter than we are, and I think if we plan and prepare, to the full extent, I think we make it a little bit too easy for ourselves because our canines learn pretty damn quickly. So certain amount of obstacles I allow the competitors to understand, and they are the fundamentals of each year's race. But then there's always some mysterious obstacles or some changes and things like that creep in. For example, it's typically a 3.5-mile course, and this year I threw in a 4-mile course, to keep people guessing. So I'm playing with their minds right from the off. But what people probably don't understand is that there's actually a lot of thought process that goes behind designing the course. And one of the things I try and do is combine a lot of water into the course at certain stages where the canines need you know, dampening down because of the heat or whatever. The strategic hills like Heartbreak Hill and so on, they are very, very challenging, but they also provide, because they're through wooded areas, they provide a lot of shade for the canines. So, you know, every obstacle, its placement, its position, the amount of running that's going to be between each of the obstacles, the open space, allowing the elements to get to the dog, and so on. It's all designed in a certain way. And that lends itself well to the average fit person taking on this course in 3 hours to the super athlete doing it in 37 minutes. Because there's so many obstacles that if you are seriously a serious athlete running at your best ability, it is absolutely exhausting. There is endurance level. I've had many, many people come across the line saying it's tougher than Tough Mudders and Spartan races and all sorts. Because if you truly test yourself on this course as an athlete with how many obstacles there are and the terrain, you're going to have a very difficult time. But at the same time, it's designed in such a way that the average Joe can come here with 1 week's worth of training, with a slightly out of weight, with a slightly out of weight dog, and walk the obstacle course, take on the obstacles, refresh themselves in the streams, slow down, rest at certain areas before they engage a hill and so on. There's several water stops along the route and so on. So there's actually a lot more thought process that goes in, but of course my main goal is to make it safe for the dogs. I prefer dogs to humans, and it's all about the dogs for me, you know. So.
Yeah, I saw some of the photos and videos, and you know, I was just really amazed from the type of people who participated, the type of dogs, little dogs, big dogs, and as you say, you know, fitness level could be, you know, just your. It doesn't have to be, you know, a human athlete to do the course, correct?
Well, absolutely. In fact, our youngest competitor this year was Priscilla, a 4-year-old that competed with her father, and there's a great Photoshop photo on my Facebook page and the biathlon Facebook page of Priscilla and her dad. It's an absolutely fantastic shot. I think she came up to my knees, but she took on this 4-mile challenging course and passed it, and had this biggest smile on her face when we handed her the medal across, you know, around her neck. And the oldest competitor was 76 years of age.
Wow.
You know, so I mean, when we say, I mean, we have, I mean, Helen comes to mind. This is a young woman that is in stage 4 cancer, and in fact, she has been here from the start at the regional biathlon for the last 3 years, and she travels up from Florida with her Muddy Paws crew that have also grown each year. I think the first year there was 6, the second year there was 10, 12, and last year there was 29 of them that took part, and the Muddy Paws crew. And this young lady started off in stage 2, stage 3, and now stage 4, you know, progressively getting worse. But the joy seeing her take on, it almost, I know it does, it motivates her each year, you know. And when we took that up on the mountain, the final photograph on the last day, the Sunday, with the whole crowd there, you know, everybody waited for Helen to come off the hill and get in that photograph. And it's kind of, there's that bonding experience there. We had our first marriage proposal this year, which was fantastic. What was a bit alarming to me was that they started off as a couple taking on this course, and we got word through the staff and the family that were there supporting that there was going to be a marriage proposal, and that as soon as they crossed the line, that the guy would get down to one knee and do his thing. What was more alarming to me is that the young lady clearly was a lot fitter than the young man, and actually crossed the line you know, probably a good 3 or 4 minutes before he come over the line, and started off the marriage well. You know, she didn't wait for him and come in as a team. So it was kind of funny to me, but we handed the mic over and let him say his piece once he got his breath back, and I'm sure they're going to go on to do great things, you know. But But no, look, 60 to 70% of all competitors, I would not say are athletes. 60 to 70% of biathlon personnel are there. They're motivated by their canine, their dog. I don't think they would do it otherwise. You know, I don't think they would train ahead of time. I don't think they would put themselves through that. Quite frankly, some of the people that turn up there, it's lovely to see. You know, because I don't think getting up on a daily basis and going and doing a sports activity, is in their mindset. But here we go, 6 months before the biathlon, it starts.
Yeah. Wow, that's some great stories. Now, tell us where it is, and is it a certain time of year that you usually have it?
Yeah, it's usually the third weekend in May. That's typically what we do. This coming year, 2018, I think that makes it the 19th of May. It's in Anniston, Alabama. Plenty of good weather, plenty of hospitable people, down-to-earth people, and of course lots of barbecue and a good southern vibe to the event. Those people that come to the event will know it for its relaxed atmosphere. Last year, as in 2017, or this year, we had our first camping, RV and camping experience because, quite simply, as this event is grown threefold each year, we fully book up all the hotels. So we had to get inventive and open up a camping area and an RV on site, which we did this year, and that will be an even larger scale in 2018. But yeah, it's a big event. We're expecting, this year was 500 competitors. I think we were 470 something, and then we had obviously friends and family there as well. So across the weekend, we probably saw 800 to 900 people coming through the event area, and then next year we're expecting 1,500 competitors.
Wow.
We're opening it on not only the Saturday but also the Sunday morning will be race day as well. So it's just growing from strength to strength.
Yeah, I know. I'm in New Jersey, and I was concerned because it's in the South. My dogs aren't used to the heat, and that was one of the reasons I thought about signing up. I was like, I have a Malinois that's sensitive to the heat, and but then I talked to friends who did it, and I didn't realize I had so many of the water obstacles, and I know stuff built in the shade. So as soon as you opened enrollment for 2018, like I think that first 24, 48 hours, I signed up.
Fantastic. You won't regret it. Well, the good news is that here we are, a couple of months after the event, and we've already exceeded the online registration from last year.
Wow.
We've
And there
already.
what was that?
We've already exceeded, which is fantastic.
That's crazy. Amazing. Now, another thing that crossed my mind was because you've got so many dogs, so many people, and I wondered about, how do you manage that? Because, not all dogs are going to be super social, or they're not used to being around hundreds of other dogs. How do you manage it on that side of things?
Well, I mean, actually, it comes from experience. We tend to put our dogs in situations on a one-on-one confrontation, and our own restraint actually causes the anxiety and for our dogs, and actually can turn a dog that's super friendly into, well, why is my dad or my mum pulling me back here? Maybe I should protect and go forward. Actually, when you get an event where there's hundreds and hundreds of canines, it's totally disorientating for the dog. And it's totally unusual. It's not the normal one-on-one encounter. He can't possibly be aggressive to 100 dogs around him. So it actually puts the dog on the back foot. And actually, the competitor, the owner, is actually more relaxed as well. It's not a situation like walking through a park where you see a dog coming towards you, so you go tight on the leash and you do that big arch around and so on. You create your own atmosphere that can cause your own problems. When this event, everyone's jovial, they're concentrating on the race. The last thing the owner's thinking is sending negative vibes down that leash to be careful and so on. So actually, a larger event like this negates a lot of those issues that are usually caused. That being said, there's always, the 1% of dogs that, especially some of the military dogs that are there, that you do not want to. So what we do is we just make people aware. We actually had red bandanas as well, that if they were super aggressive to humans or to people, we would tie a bandana, red bandana around the collar. But actually, when we did the vet inspection, we confronted most people. Mild aggression was 1%, and actual full-on aggression was probably 2 to 3 of those dogs out of all 470 dogs that took pass. So it's not as big a problem as you think, and as these dogs come on an annual reoccurring basis, they actually get better and better, okay? And I can assure you also, once these dogs get competing and they're focused on the race and running next to their pet, their mom or their dad and pleasing mom and dad, because that's what our canines like to do, the last thing when they come over that finish line they're thinking of is attacking another dog. They're sucking oxygen and drinking water like we are.
And I know this question has come up through a number of people. I'm also curious, is how does one prepare for it? You know, if you don't know what the obstacles are, one person was asking about the amount of time needed for preparation, recommendations as far as teams wanting to do it preparation-wise.
Yeah, look, and the obvious answer is I would actually love to turn around and say, guys, the moment you finish and recover from the first one, start training for the next one. Okay? I mean, that's what I'd love to say, but the reality is that, you know, this course is challenging. You know, if you want to start 3 months before, 6 months before, 9 months before, then you can. The whole point of the biathlon is you can show up with no training whatsoever and take part. Now, you're going to have a tough old time, but you can, okay? But we want people to motivate. We want them to get out. My recommendation is anywhere between 3 to 6 months before. The serious competitors start training 4 to 6 months before. Last year's winner and the previous 3 years overall winner, Chris, and his dog Shadow, they train typically about 4 months before, okay? Once we go firm and open up the registration and everything else, they're involved in their training. Now, what type of training? It's an endurance event. So just like you need to start increasing the distance of running ability with your dog. I would make it very interval based. So you're stopping, you're starting, you're having short bursts of energy and then soft bursts. I would vary your terrain from concrete to woodland areas, you know, to stream beds, you know, water beds, because they're very uneven and rocky and can be quite challenging for a dog, especially when you're running in the stream and the dog to your side is half of a bank, you know, because it's so narrow. That can be, you know, disorientating for the dog. So I would work on endurance, stamina, fitness-wise, you know, lengthening out over a period of 4 to 6 months. I would then start to add different terrains, and then I would move on to the obstacles. Now, the type of obstacles that are standard each year would be tunnels, so road tunnels, you know, tunnels, anywhere where you're crawling through and it's dark and you can't see the end. You know, if you want to have a little bit of water going through it as well, there are a lot of natural road tunnels that are available for you at local parks and woodlands, and you know, even on highways. I mean, you can go crawl under a tunnel that's near you. That would work. When it comes to obstacles, we have a lot of A-frames going up to about 9 foot in height. A lot of crawl through obstacles as well. So that would be another thing I would recommend, is, you know, lifting your dog over or motivating your dog to go up an A-frame type scenario. And then I would add crawls and hills. So you better get used to crawling through objects, through mud, and so on. It sounds pretty easy for a dog to do because they love crawl spaces, they love mud, they love water. But actually, when you're out on the ground, you want the dog to go a certain direction, it's a little bit more difficult. So I would definitely look at endurance. I would definitely look at extending the dogs out on different terrain, then integrate obstacles, tunnels, and crawl spaces, and finally start putting some hill gradients in there as well.
So that environmental part. I see Jill who Jill who participated. She said, "Crawl with your dog!" Exclamation mark! Exclamation mark!
I love it.
I'm gonna I hope I'm gonna unmute Jill in just a second. Hopefully Jill actually just participated this last summer in it, and I'd love to hear her share a little bit of her experience and see if she has any questions for us. If I can get her unmuted, if it looks like she's still here. Before I go to Jill, is there anything else you wanted to add, or something you felt that people who are thinking about doing it should know ahead of time, or any other information you think would for them to know?
I think so. I think, you know, dive into the community. We call ourselves the biathlon family. It's a real family event, okay? And we're going to be expanding nationally because of its success. I'm looking at some areas in Texas, which will probably be the next location that we expand to, but focusing on the Anniston, Alabama event and facility, I would recommend that people that are interested in doing it, go on to our Facebook, go on to our social media, Facebook /Canine Biathlon, as in the word canine spelled out, biathlon, because you know there are thousands of people on there that take part in this event. They share their experiences, they share their photographs. One lovely family on there documented their whole story, traveling from great distances with their children. And the same child was part of the event and ended up getting the medal over him. Fantastic story of and well-documented video that's been edited on there of the whole day, the whole event, and what it meant. And it's those types of feelings that bring these types of people together, and the journeys behind the actual event on the day that they really need to research and look at. And you become part of the family the moment you sign up, okay? The moment you sign up. And look, it's not about the money coming in, as a lot of people will understand us. We give back to local charities, and we also, you know, I mean, it's all about the food and the atmosphere and the free drinks and the, you know, sharing a beer with other working dog professionals and civilians with their dogs. I mean, it's a great event. You get a great medal, a great T-shirt, and you get to meet the same people and your friends from all over the nation. They share a common goal and interest, which is the canine, year in, year out. So please look on social media.
Yeah, and I have some students who are overseas. I had one particularly in Israel who was like, I want to do this. Do we have anything overseas? Do you have this? Are you planning on going international? Or if people are overseas, if they're interested, is there anything you recommend for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, this has been a slowly approach. Get it right, year in, year out. We're 3 years into this, into the biathlon, and now we're looking to expand in the US. We'll add 3 or 4 sites nationally in the US before we start looking to go outside of the US, okay, and working with different agencies there. But there's no doubt about it, the end goal is to get this experience, this bonding experience, this interagency and civilian dog experience out around the world, because you know there's nothing like it. There is absolutely nothing like it. It's an experience. It's a sense of achievement that we want to take over the world. So please, please, please watch this space. But in the interim period, it's always good to travel in. We have people traveling from Belgium to take part in this event. We've got interest from people in the UK coming over to do it in 2018. So hey, come on in, pitch up a tent, grab some barbecue, and get ready to race.
Awesome. Let me see if I can get Jill in here, because like I said, she participated. Jill, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Did you want to add anything or share your from your side as a participant, or any questions that you might have for Paul?
I think you've asked a ton of questions and got really awesome answers. I was really surprised that I was able to complete the course myself. I thought for sure I was going to throw the flag up and have somebody like take me off the course on a stretcher, and I did very good. However, I did want to tell you all that Heartbreak Hill was going to get renamed Leiden, the Leiden Killer, if I was going to get hit by lightning halfway up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I had a great time. I went with some friends of mine. We kind of have a family of people that all have dogs from a specific breeder here in Bowling Green, and so we all wore our Mohawk T-shirts, and we went as a family, and it was a great time.
That's great. It's funny you mentioned the challenging course. You know, I probably downplayed the course. It is extremely tough and challenging course. And when you come over that finish line, you get your medal and T-shirt. I can assure you, you've earned it.
Yeah, you'll never wear those clothes again because they're trash. We had dirt and rocks and mud in our underwear because you have to, at some point you're sitting on your butt to scoot down the hills and stuff. And the point I was making about crawling with your dog, my dog is super environmentally stable. I could send him through anything. He will choose to go through a tunnel to get from point A to point B just because it's fun. But when I went under that tunnel with him, he was freaked out. The first one I went under, I'm in the water, I'm crawling through, and he was like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And I tried to drag him in. He grabbed my foot and tried to drag me out, like he needed to save me from the tunnel.
Oh God, I love him.
So I mean, he wasn't, I wouldn't say necessarily stressed, but that was a point of some emotional triggering for him every time I went in there with him. So my dog was good on obstacles, but the obstacles with me are that he needed to see before, I think.
Sure. And Jill, do you echo the sentiments of the bonding experience between you and your dog? Do you think you learned something about your dog, and did you think your dog learned something about you during that event?
Absolutely. I learned a lot about my dog, and I think that, I mean, he lives with me. He sleeps on my bed with me, but, you know, we train together, but even above and beyond that, I think I can read my dog that much better now, and he trusts me more, and it was a ton of fun on top of everything else. It was just fun. Well worth the long drive.
There you go.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Jill. That's awesome to hear from your perspective. So that's awesome. I'm signed up. Like I said, my hesitation was my dog dealing with the heat and being in New Jersey. And then when I had some of my students out there doing it, I tell you, I was regretting not going. I was like, oh man, I was kicking myself in the butt. I was like, oh, I wish I was down there. So definitely 2018. And I will, I'm going to pull up just the page. There is, if they go to the, as you said, the website and also social media site for them.
Yeah, USCanineBiathlon.com, or they can go on our NEK9 website and see it there, or any of the Facebook page will send a link directly to it. But USCanineBiathlon.com will send you straight there as well, or you can get on via the NEK9. And to your point, about 25% of new people that come to the biathlon for the first time were at a previous biathlon where they thought the course would be too tough for them, and they see a 76-year-old and a 4-year-old coming across the finish line. They go, do you know what? I'm going to do this next year. You know, so that's always a good thing.
And the stories, the people who documented their experiences, is that on the Facebook page?
It is, yeah. You'll see hundreds and hundreds of photographs on the Facebook page, and you'll see video links to some of the documentaries and stories, as well as some of our own videos on there as well. And we had a professional photographer there this year, and her links are on there as well, Diane. So there's some absolutely fantastic shots. You know, as you can see, one of the shots there, that's a pretty decent shot on the website there.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for taking the time. I didn't want to keep you too long, but it was great having Jill here to add her experience. And we look forward to hearing more, and super excited. And thank you so much for bringing this to the canine handlers and bringing the civilians, the police and military together. But I think that emphasis on the bonding is huge. Bonding and fun, right?
Couldn't agree more. I'm already dreaming up the mysterious obstacles for next year, so watch out.
Thank you so much, and have a great rest of the day.
Later, guys. See you soon, okay?
Bye-bye.
Bye.